Hey guys, what's up? This is Panstar Dragon, and today we were doing patch 5.4 rundown of the changes, giving you my insight on things, what I think is going to happen, kind of predicting the future a bit, and basically, yeah, that's about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the insight, and honestly, I've been reading the patch notes, and it's a bit confusing for me. I'm not sure where some of these champions are headed. Like maybe some of these champions may be bad, but I might say it's good. But this is my opinion on what I think is going to happen. So let's get started. So first up, Azir gets a bug fix with the spectator mode, blah blah blah, not important, but now we get onto Janna, and we see a bit of changes coming to her. So basically what's happening is her passive is going to her only and moving it to her W. So as you can see, 4% is now 9%. You see it's removed here, but now she has another passive where basically she has the captain boots kind of enchantment kind of thing going on. So she gets 8% bonus movement speed to all champions behind her, kind of like the captain boots kind of thing, like I said. And then rage is increased. She's still probably going to be good just because she has a CC. I personally think her ultimate is really strong for disengaging and refreshing your team's hit point. She still has the mobility with her W, so she can roam around the map, get some wards down and all the good stuff. She can still chase people down, so honestly, she's still probably going to be one of the top 5 supports. Alright, so next up we'll be talking about Jarvan, and Jarvan right here gets a big nerf, I feel, in my opinion. So they're basically removing the passive armor from his flag, and they're increasing his base armor by 3, which rounds up to about -7 armor at level 1. Now this is incredibly huge because your yellow rune page is usually made out of 9 armor. So just say you take away 7 of that runes and that's how hard the jungle will be. It's gonna hurt. So what I'm expecting is maybe he won't do, say, golems to red to blue and then he can gank right after. I feel like he won't be able to do that anymore. He's gonna take a lot of damage in the jungle, and of course early game skirmishes are gonna go more in favor of the enemies since they can damage him more with the auto attacks and stuff. But in my opinion, it is a pretty big nerf. It might hurt him a lot. We'll have to see. If it does hurt him a lot, I don't think he will be used as often as much as he is right now. And yeah, 7 armor is really big. I mean, in the late game, you don't ever put points into E unless you're level 15 and 15, 17, and wait, you guys know what I mean. But yeah, it's the last skill you would max out. So you're losing about 19 armor at level 18, since he gets +3 armor, and it used to give 22 armor as his passive, so that's gone, and that's worth like 300 gold stats. But I think you can settle it with just getting cloth armor. It's not that big in the late game, but of course it does help. And so yeah, he might go down, he might go up. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be number 1 anymore, but that's about it. Alright, so next up we'll be talking about Kalista, and what they're doing is making her basic attack wind up from 100% attack speed to now 60% of her attack speed. Now, this is obviously just a small nerf, I feel, since when she's winding up for that auto attack, she cannot hop back to avoid harass from the enemy, or of course if she's going all in then it doesn't matter. But in this situation, I feel like it will either be a small nerf or a big nerf. Knowing Riot, they always screw up these kind of things. So like that one time they screwed up Kalista's passive and made her completely unplayable. And so this might be one of those things. Otherwise, it's going to be a small nerf, and she's still going to be pretty good. Alright, so right here we'll be talking about Kassadin, and as you can see here, there's a huge nerf coming onto the range of his R. Sure, they are decreasing the base cost of the mana, but it's still going to take a while for you to travel distance and, get to people and kill them. As you can see here, 3 Rift Walks is equivalent to 2 Rift Walks of the last patch, since 2 Rift Walks in the last patch give you 1400 range, while 3 Rift Walks in this patch gives you 1350 range. So you got to use one more ulti to, get across the map or wherever you're going. So with that nerf right there, I think he's going to be shit tier, and he's not going to be viable, especially with all those previous nerfs he has had already. He's probably going to be shit there, so I would not recommend using him this patch. Alright, so next up we'll be talking about Katarina, and right here, her passive is getting a change. Instead of scoring a kill or assist, you now have to damage an enemy within 3 seconds of Katarina dealing damage to them to get the resets. Now this looks like a pretty big nerf to her, but honestly in my opinion it is not. Basically because Katarina only enters a team fight when she can get a kill. And so what she would do is when she finds someone low to kill, she would just go in, kill him, get that reset, and then clean up the team fight basically. So it is a nerf. I don't know how impactful it is since I'm not a Katarina player, and I'm in situations where more than 4 seconds has passed from me damaging an enemy, but I don't think it will hurt her that much. And yeah, that's basically it. Her team fight is still there. It's still really strong, so I still think she's going to be a really good champion, and she'll probably still be in the top 5. So next up is Lissandra. She gets a bug fix, whatever. Let's move on to Mordekaiser. And right here, his health regen is getting a nerf, more than half of what he had before. So that is really impactful, but he is getting health costs decreased. But the thing is, it's only on his Q and W, and it's not on his E, which is his main harassing ability and skill that he levels up and maxes out first. So that's very interesting, that he is getting this health regen nerf, and it just surprises me that that's gonna happen. So anyways, let's talk about what's going on. So he's getting a Nidalee Cougar Q now. It's a longer range, so that's going to help him, harass people in lane, damage them, whatever. And of course, team fights a bit. It just helps. And right here, Mordekaiser can use his W on an ally, so that means there's going to be 2 spinning scraps of crap, rotating people around people, giving the armor and magic resist, while also damaging enemies. So that's pretty cool. And right here is the Magnetic Buddies passive thing. Now when you're walking towards each other, you both gain plus 60 bonus movement speed, which is a lot. This is a lot when running towards each other. I also thought you could use this as an escape when, say, you're overextending and you have a minion 2W behind you. But the thing is, it's a projectile, and it takes a while to arrive to your target, so you won't be getting the movement speed unless it's on the ally. So it's going to take a while for that movement speed to kick in, unless, of course, you can, while it's in midair, you get the movement speed buff, but I'm pretty sure they didn't code it like that. Now, and you also cannot stack damage with your W, so you can't do double damage, which sucks, but whatever, since I'm pretty sure that would help, since he is getting, I feel like this is a nerf, in my opinion. They're also nerfing the AP ratio by 0.5, but remember, this does magic damage per second, and so after 2 ticks of damage, instead of having 0.3, it's going to be 0. Instead of having 0.4, it's going to be 0.3, and you're also going to do 24 less damage on that second tick, so it might add up, and just a bit nerfed to AP Mordekaiser. Alright, so next up we'll be talking about Mordekaiser's ultimate, and right here, they're taking out the attack damage by 20%, and instead they're giving 25% of their bonus health and 30% of their ability power. Now do note this says their bonus health, not maximum health. That means, let's say the enemy has a Warmog's armor and he has no masteries or runes for whatever reason. You'll be only getting 200 health extra when you ult that person, and not their total maximum health, according to this patch notes. But at least you still get 30% of their ability power, and you didn't really need their attack damage because that was a pretty useless stat. I mean, it did enhance your Q, but did you auto attack that much? Probably not. And now you no longer give ability power to your ghost. I guess this only had impact on Orianna because her passive did scale with ability power. I'm pretty sure there's more, but I can't think of it right now. And right here, this again is a pretty good buff. Mordekaiser, AD, you don't build AD on Mordekaiser, so instead you be giving that clone, 25, 50, 100 attack damage, based off your ultimate's level. So overall, this gets a pretty good damn buff, and honestly though, I don't think all these buffs and this nerf right here is going to put him in a good place. I can see him being like a pretty good bruiser top, like kind of like Rumble, where you build him Abyssal, Sork Shoes, Haunting Guys, all this magic penetration. But again, he just suffers from sustain, sorry, I forgot. He has no escapes, and he has no more DFG, so how can you get your ghost easily? I don't think he's going to be good, in my opinion. So let's move on to the next champion. Alright, so next up is going to be Rengar, and basically you don't have to swap out your Bone Tooth necklace for another Bone Tooth necklace, because some people were actually selling the Bone Tooth and getting a trinket, and then they realized that a little bit too late, and they'd buy the Bone Tooth necklace and they'd have 0 stacks, and they'd be like, well, I just wasted my time in this game. So that's pretty good. Thank God that's changed. I've done it before. And they're increasing the E, I think, with the collision width of Dark Spheres, blah blah blah. We'll see how that works in this patch, see if she's hitting more stuns and stuff. And now we're going to be going onto Veigar. So Q is a skill shot that can hit 2 enemies now. The range is increased by 200 and it's at 850. Brand's Q is at 900, so I like to compare the range comparison with Brand's Q, and that's what I feel like it's going to be. The cooldown is increased to 5 seconds, but honestly, if you get to hit 2 people with your Q and the range is increased, I feel like that's a pretty good change. So this gets a buff. Next up is the W, and this does not help at all except until you get to late game, because you max out W last. So you're looking at 70 mana for levels 1 to 13, around 13. I mean, the cooldown does go down, but the only way you use W is when you're comboing it with your E to, one-shot people. I mean, this doesn't change anything except his late game, so that's about it. Next up, what we think about is E, and honestly, in my opinion, this is a nerf, even though you see the cooldown going down by 2 seconds at all ranks, and the range is increased by 50, you have this 0.75 second delay, and the mana is decreased too, but this right here, this is how you could tell a good Veigar player from a bad Veigar player. Now when people are seeing that this wall is about to come up, they can outplay it. For instance, they see it coming, they're either going to stay in the box and not get stunned, or they're going to flash out of it before it does come up. So this right here is a big nerf to his E, regardless of the cooldown change and range and mana, whatever. And this just makes Veigar a worse champion. Next up, we'll be talking about his R, and honestly, in my opinion, I feel like this is a nerf. The reason I say this is because even though the mana cost is decreased by 100 at level 16, I feel that in the late game you don't really have that much mana problems with mages at that point, and so I'd rather have the 1.2 AP ratio instead of a 1.0, and I mean the cooldown goes down by 10 seconds at all ranks, but the AP ratio goes down, and he can get his AP pretty easily by getting his Q stacks, the Rapid Dawn's Death Cap, and all the other AP items he gets, even though DFG is gone. So in my opinion, Veigar right now in this patch feels like more of a pokey champion with the range increase, but with these 2 nerfs right here, and this buff basically do nothing until he's level 14. I feel like he was honestly a better champion than this patch before, because this right here, this is a big nerf, so they completely destroyed good Veigar players, and now this is going to happen. So yeah, I don't think he's a good champion at all after this patch. He was actually a pretty good champion even after DFG was removed, but now with, of course, this patch, he looks like shit because of that easily outplayable E change. Alright, so right here, Xerath's E max stun duration is down by 0.5 seconds, and I'm actually pretty glad from this change, because I remember I was going to gank a Xerath, and I was like near his tower, but he stunned me at max range, and I basically went from 100% to 0, just because I was taking so much tower shots. And yeah, and when you're sieging the enemy, if you get hit by that shocking orb, you're basically going to die. You're going to take a Q, W, and maybe 1 or 2 Rs, probably 1, but it was still really annoying to deal with, and he's still probably going to be a really good champion, so expect him to be in the next tier list. Alright, so next up we're going to be talking about the rework Zilean, and right here it looks like he's just going to be a support. Base armor changes are going up, attack range is being nerfed, and I'll go over the other changes, but of course attack frame sped up slightly, so that means he can get his auto attacks faster and run away. And icons and basic attacks, new particles, blah blah blah. Alright, so Zilean's Q is getting a super big buff in my opinion, and even though it's becoming a skill shot and damage is decreased at all levels, the base damage, You're still getting range increase on it, so that means easier to poke the enemy down, get those spell thief stacks off. The mana is decreased, and the cooldown is decreased at level rank 4 and 5. And the biggest thing, of course, is the 1.5 second stun, stunning all enemies in the area when you get 2 bombs at the same unit. Now, this is very interesting. I will say that his level 1 is weaker because the base damage of this is lower. There's a lower cooldown, or there's a higher cooldown in his Q, but the 1.5 second stun is super big utility because I'm theory crafting this. He's going to be probably number 1 support. Looks super broken because he's going to, let's say he has 40% CDR. Then he has maxed, his W is maxed out, which is a 6 second cooldown, and that can be like 4 seconds. But of course you have the 8 second right here. So what I'm theory crafting is you're going to have a 1.5 AoE stun every 5 seconds with 40% CDR. Since this 8 seconds will turn into 5 seconds, and having a stun every 5 seconds seems pretty broken to me. Also in ganks, you also have a slow that lasts for 2.5 seconds. Yes, it is 40%, but it's still pretty big, and it's going to help those ganks. So it's finally going to be easy to kill a Zilean lane and whatever else. I mean, the duration as ulti, of course, got nerfed, but hey, it's still going to do its job. You can't use rewind, of course, lower the cooldown, but 120 seconds, come on, you can live with that. A lot of ultimates these days are 120 seconds at rank 1. But yeah, I think he's going to be super OP this patch and broken. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but whatever. Yeah, I actually think he's going to be super broken, and that's my opinion. Alright, so next up they're going to be nerfing the jungle item swapping, so you can't go from Stalkers to Trailblazer for free anymore. It now costs 255 gold, which is definitely not worth changing the Smite for, since you can probably buy a cloth armor with this money, or I guess a rejuvenation bead, but I think that's cheaper, I'm not sure. But 255 gold is so much. It's definitely, you're definitely not going to see that happening anymore. And you're just going to either stick to Trailblazer or Stalker's Blade. And it sucks for junglers like Hecarim, Rek'Sai, and, well, those are the only 2 junglers I can think of right now. But I don't like this change, and it kind of sucks. Alright, so they're buffing Doran's Shield this patch because it wasn't blocking 8 single target spell damage, but now it is. And I guess for certain matchups, this is going to help for that person. So you would probably buy this against Ryze now, since his Q and W are single target spell damage, but no one plays Ryze. And like, that's all I can think of, to be honest. I guess there's Rumble's E, which will do 16 less damage, and Cannon's Q, but there's a lot of skills in the top lane right now which do AoE damage. The biggest one I can think of is Sion's E. That's a big harass skill. It's AoE, so it won't reduce the damage from that. It just helps for certain matchups, I guess, right now. The next part we're going to be talking about is the enchantment on Warrior, which is -5 damage. Again, it's still going to be good. It's still going to be better than Devour for champions like, say, Nocturne, Master Yi. Okay, that's only 2 champions I can think of who scale with AD and, you know, do good with AD. But yeah, you'd still prioritize this over Devour right now. ZZ Rot Portal, they're more intelligent, and Void Gates will automatically rescan for a spawn direction shortly after a turret in its assigned lane has been destroyed, so it still looks completely garbage to me. I don't think anyone will get it. Next up is Smite, and is getting a pretty decent nerf. Well, Chilling Smite is, so the range is reduced by 175, which is pretty big in my opinion. You can't engage as much on ganks, so what I think is going to happen with the recent jungle changes to the jungle items costing 255 gold when you want to switch. Most junglers right now, oh yeah, and the range decrease. Most junglers right now will be going to the Trailblazer. Of course, champions like Lee Sin, who can use the Stalker's Blade and have high sustain, are going to still use Stalker's Blade. I think that Trailblazer is going to be the main item to use right now, just because of all these nerfs happening. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed my rundown. There were a lot of cuts I had to do, and I've been working on this for about an hour or two, so I'm very tired. And I hope you guys enjoyed my insight. If you guys did like this video, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me. And I'm pretty burnt out, and I'm probably gonna go sleep after this. When I say burnt out, I don't mean I got high and then I lost my high. I mean, I'm pretty tired because been up for 20 hours, and yeah, I stayed up for this to make you guys a video because I don't want to be late. If I'm late with this video, it's kind of stupid, right? I'm going to sleep. Bye.